And so even in the way that we're paused here on this shot, they're both standing on opposite sides of Will, trying to get at him.
Yep.
Robin Williams' character is trying to pull him to one side, and then the mathematician is trying to pull him towards the other side.
Yep.
And the question is, who's going to win?
Yep.
What choice will Will make moving forward? It's really obvious in terms of the writing that you have competing interests for Will that are diametrically opposed. They're competing ideologies, but it goes in a way deeper too, because Robin Williams' character, Sean, is completely engrossed in the emotional side of Will.
Yeah.
And how much more analytical could you get than a mathematician?
Yeah, that's a great point.
So just in the way that the occupations of these characters are, it sets up this perfect opposition of ideologies where it's not stated, show, don't tell.
Yeah.
The occupations that were chosen for the two sides that Will has to decide between are perfect analogies to what part of his psyche is he aligning more towards.
Yeah. Even when you're saying that about choice, there's something really cool about how part of what Robin Williams' character is doing here is the mathematician is looking at what Robin's character did as a failure. But what he's saying is, I made a conscious choice.
You think I'm a failure. I know who I am, and I'm proud of what I do. It was a conscious choice. I didn't f*** up.
Also, the pull that they're doing between Will's character, right? Or between Will in this scene. There's be who you could be and do all the things and get to the prestigiousness. But then there's also a cool conversation that Robin Williams has with Matt Damon later on is about, what do you want?
Look at me. What do you want to do? You got a bullshit answer for everybody. But I ask you a very simple question, and you can't give me a straight answer because you don't know.
Making a choice. And it's like, you could do all this stuff and fulfill this potential because you have this talent, but is that what you want? And should you do stuff just because you can, or should you do things that feel like they align with you? And it's the whole, I would say, core conflict for Will when it comes to making this decision. And that's great. But there's also some issues with the way that Sean is portrayed. Lots of things about the portrayal here of like talking about what's going on with the client with somebody who's not a stakeholder who should be knowing about the stuff that's going on with the client, grabbing a client by the throat the first time that you meet them, right?
Yeah.
If you ever disrespect my wife again, I will end you.
Lots of things that violate like ethics. You're like, that's terrible, horrible therapist. But again, I think it goes to part of things we've talked about before, where we see the flaws in Robin's character, and that helps us connect with him more because he's a real person, even though those flaws are things that you would never want to show up in a therapeutic setting, right? It's like, as a therapist, we don't hide our flaws. It's more like, I'm going to put those things to the side for a minute, and I'm going to be doing as much as I possibly can to make sure that I'm caring for my own flaws, like not putting these away because I need to hide them, but like, these have a space to be in. They're okay here, but they're not the focus right now. It's on you.
And
right?
in a weird way too, the thing that you should be most concerned about in the portrayal of a therapist is the thing that you care least about. Grabbing a client by the throat, and like shoving them up against a wall, that should be alarm bells ringing. The worst thing that you could possibly show somebody in light of being a good therapist, that should immediately disqualify anybody from the realm of a good therapist in the collective conscious of the world.
Yeah.
But that's not the thing that matters most. And I think that it's interesting how the example of the best portrayal of a therapist that you and I both agree on in Sean when Good Will Hunting is also the person who doesn't perfectly portray who a therapist is.
Yeah.
In a weird way, you were complaining before in all those other examples about the inaccurate or improper ways that the therapist was acting.
Yeah.
And in this example, it's the worst egregious offense, but it's also the one that matters the least.
Yeah.
Because it serves the narrative and shows what a good therapist should be. Because underneath that egregious offense was truly the heart of somebody who really had the best interest of this kid and just had a moment of weakness.
Yeah. It's interesting because like I would never tell somebody do the stuff that Sean does in the movie. because there's pieces where he like grabs his throat, he walks him to the pond and has that whole like monologue confrontation with him. And I would say like technically that's terrible. But there is something about when we look at building trust, right? Like, why is Will in therapy in the first place? It's because he got into a fight and he was going to be in jail. He's from Southie. Like, there's all these points where that's how Robin interacts with him the first time. He matches him with intelligence. He's been in the military before. Like, he's also pairing with him when it comes to the relationships that they have. Robin with his wife who's passed away, and then Will's character with the girl that he's dating. And there's almost this idea of when you're going to build trust, it's how do you make that connection with somebody? And part of, I think, the reason that the mathematician character brings Will to Sean in the first place is because, like, even though he says, you built rapport, I don't care, he also knows that's the only thing that's going to get Will engaged in the therapeutic process. And so it's really important for him to be able to do that. And then it's only once that trust has been built and that Will's, okay, I'm bought in and I'm here, that now Sean can start asking him, like, you have an answer for everything, but you can't tell me what you want. And this is where I love it, because so often in therapy, that's also the challenge that people are facing. It's like you're looking at the context of your life and all these things that are going on, but what's your direction? What do you want to do? And is it possible that a huge portion of the reason why you're stuck is that you don't know what you want? And it's a big piece of, again, when we go back and talk about why would I as a therapist not want to tell people what they're feeling and tell them what's going on? It's like, because I don't know what you want. You know what you want. You are the one. And it's the idea of, like, the client is the expert of their own experience. The client needs to understand. The client needs to guide therapy. The client needs to be the one who directs goals. Why is that? Because the client is the only one who has the keys to unlock the new direction, healing, which is, what do you need? What do you want? And it's never something that I'm going to, as a person externally, put onto them. It's not, and it's people's frustration. Like, go back to the Lucifer example. Like, you're supposed to help me. Give me the thing. Help me control my emotions. It's not something that I give you. It's something that I pull out of you. And I think that's maybe the most beautiful part of Sean in this movie, is that despite all his flaws and his challenges and the ethical violations and all the things you shouldn't do, essentially, fundamentally, he is portraying the essence of a therapist, which is getting onto somebody's level, building trust with them so that he can pull out what matters most for that person.
It's interesting hearing you say that, because what I'm hearing you say is that from a therapist perspective, you should not do what Sean does. Yeah. You should be who Sean is.
Exactly. I feel like maybe if I was going to rephrase it, how you said, like, this is who everybody looks at and says, that's the therapist I want.